No doctor could fix him. No surgery could wake his legs. But when the scared black maid with soft curves and sad eyes placed her trembling hand on his knee to apologize for bumping his wheelchair, Kang Min-ho felt his toes curl inside his custom Italian shoes. And the most dangerous man in Korea realized his miracle didn't come from medicine. It came from her. He smiled, slow and predatory, and she shivered, because men like him didn't let miracles walk away. Welcome to Story World, besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. The mansion fell silent except for Amara's ragged breathing. She tried to pull her hand back, but Min-ho's fingers wrapped around her wrist, holding her in place. His grip was iron despite 8 months of atrophy. "What's your name?" His voice was silk over steel, the kind of tone that made grown men confess sins. "Amara Cole, sir. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to bump." "Don't apologize." His thumb traced the inside of her wrist, feeling her pulse race. "Do it again." "Sir." "Touch my leg again." Min-ho's dark eyes burned into hers. "Exactly where you did before." Amara's hand shook as she placed it back on his knee. The reaction was immediate and violent. Min-ho's entire body went rigid, his head falling back as sensation exploded through nerves that had been dead for months. The dragon tattoo that wound up his neck seemed to pulse with his heartbeat. "Jesus," he breathed, and when he looked at her again, something had shifted, something hungry and irrevocable. "What are you?" I'm just a maid, I don't." "No." He pulled her closer until her thick frame was pressed between his wheelchair and the mahogany desk. "You're not just anything, not anymore." The next morning, Amara arrived to find the entire cleaning staff gone. Only Sung-ho, Min-ho's head of security, waited in the foyer. "You're being reassigned," the older man said, his scarred face unreadable. "Exclusive detail, boss's orders." "I don't understand." "You will." Sung-ho led her to Min-ho's private wing. "3 times your previous rate. You work only for him now, and Miss Cole, don't run, he'll just find you." Min-ho sat in his therapy room, attempting to lift a 5-pound weight with legs that shouldn't respond. When Amara entered, he didn't stop, didn't acknowledge her, but she felt his awareness like electricity. "The agency said you requested me specifically," she said carefully. "I own the agency now." He set down the weight and turned his wheelchair to face her. "As of 7 this morning, paid cash. They were very accommodating." Amara's stomach dropped. "You bought an entire company, too." "To keep you close?" "Yes." Min-ho rolled toward her with predatory grace. "Last night, I felt my toes move for the first time since a rival put a bullet in my spine. This morning, I could flex my foot. Whatever you are, whatever you did, I need more of it." "I didn't do anything. It was an accident." "Then we'll have more accidents." His hand shot out, catching hers and placing it on his thigh. The heat returned instantly, and Min-ho's eyes fluttered closed. "God, yes, right there." "Mr. Kang, this isn't appropriate." "Min-ho," he corrected, his voice rough. "You'll call me Min-ho, and appropriate went out the window the moment you brought feeling back to my dead body. Now touch me again before I lose my mind." By the end of the week, Amara had a routine. Morning sessions where she'd place her hands on Min-ho's legs while he worked through physical therapy. Afternoons organizing his home office while he conducted business calls in 3 languages, his eyes tracking her every movement. Evenings when the tension between them grew so thick she could barely breathe. "You're starring," she said one night, catching him watching her arrange books. "I'm memorizing." Min-ho set aside the contract he'd been reading. "The way you move, the exact shade of your skin, how your mouth curves when you're trying not to smile." "Why?" "Because when I can walk again, and I will walk again, I'm going to chase you. And I want to remember every detail of these days when you thought you could keep me at arm's length." Amara's pulse jumped. "You don't know anything about me." "I know everything about you." He gestured to a file on his desk. "Amara Rose Cole, 26, born in Atlanta, moved to Seoul 6 months ago after your grandmother passed. Nursing school dropout because you couldn't afford the loans. Working 3 jobs to pay off her medical bills. No criminal record, no boyfriend, no family left except an aunt in Chicago you haven't spoken to in 5 years." She felt violated and seen in equal measure. "You investigated me." "I investigate everyone who matters. And you, Amara." His voice dropped to something almost tender. You matter more than anyone has in a very long time. Later that night, Amara lay in her tiny apartment, Minho's words circling her mind. She should be angry. She should quit. But when she closed her eyes, all she saw was the vulnerability beneath his dangerous exterior, the way his breath caught when her hands brought sensation back to his broken body. The following morning, she found a gift box waiting. Inside was a winter coat, cashmere, designer, the exact one she'd stopped to admire 3 days ago during her lunch break. The note read, "Soul is cold. You'll wear this. M." "I can't accept this," she said, finding him already in the therapy room. Minho was attempting to stand using parallel bars. Sweat dripped down his face, his tattooed arms trembling with effort. "Then throw it away. This costs more than my rent. I spend more than that on ammunition." He managed to hold himself upright for 3 seconds before his legs gave out. Amara rushed forward instinctively, her hands steadying his waist, and Minho gasped as sensation flooded through him. "Don't!" he gritted out. "Don't stop touching me." "Minho, you need to rest." "I need you." The raw honesty in his voice pinned her in place. "Every second you're not here, I'm back in that warehouse where they shot me, drowning in my own blood, feeling nothing. You brought me back. You keep bringing me back." Her hands were still on his waist, feeling the heat of his skin through the thin shirt. "I'm just—" "Everything," he interrupted, turning in her arms despite his weakness. "You're everything, and I'm not letting you go. Not for money, not for propriety, not for anything." A few days later, Minho took his first steps with a walker. The entire household erupted in celebration, but he only had eyes for Amara. That night, he insisted she join him for dinner, not as staff, but as a guest. "This is sending a message," Sung-ho warned quietly. "Good," Minho's smile was sharp. "Let everyone know she's mine." The meal was intimate, candlelit, completely inappropriate. Minho watched Amara eat like he was starving for something other than food. "Tell me something real," he said finally. "What do you mean?" "Something you've never told anyone. A secret. A fear. Something that makes you human instead of this perfect angel who floated into my life." Amara set down her fork. "I'm not an angel." "No," he leaned forward. "Then what are you?" "Scared, broke, running from a life I failed at." The words tumbled out. "I dropped out of nursing school because I couldn't save her. My grandmother. I was there when she died, holding her hand, and I couldn't do anything. I felt so useless. So I ran, got on a plane, and ended up here, cleaning houses because it's the only thing I'm good at." Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You saved me." "That's different." "Is it?" He reached across the table, taking her hand. "I was dead inside that chair, dead in every way that mattered. Then you touched me, and I felt alive again. If that's not saving someone, what is?" Amara felt tears prick her eyes. "Why are you being kind to me?" "Because kindness from someone like me is rare enough to be valuable. And because—" He hesitated, something vulnerable crossing his features. "You're the first person in 10 years to look at me like I'm a man instead of a monster." That night, as Sung-ho drove Amara home, he spoke quietly. "Boss hasn't smiled in 8 months. Not until you. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." "I'm not doing anything." "You're giving him hope. In our world, that's more dangerous than any weapon." The following week, Minho could walk short distances without the walker. His recovery was miraculous, impossible, and his enemies were starting to notice. "Boss, we intercepted chatter," Sung-ho reported during a private meeting. "The park syndicate. They're asking questions about your maid." Minho's expression went arctic. "What kind of questions?" "The kind that gets people killed. They think she's your weakness." "She's not my weakness." Minho's voice was deadly calm. "She's my reason to stay alive, which makes her the most protected person in this city, double her security detail. I want eyes on her 24/7. "Already done." That evening, Amara noticed the additional shadows following her. When she confronted Minho, he didn't apologize. "Someone tried to kill me 8 months ago. They crippled me instead. Now I'm healing and they're scared. Scared men do desperate things." "I'm not involved in your world." "You became involved the moment you touched me." He crossed the room, moving with increasing strength. You're mine now, Amara. Mine to protect. Mine to keep safe. Mine. I don't belong to anyone. Not yet, he agreed, backing her against the bookshelf. But you will. You'll wear my ring, carry my name, and no one will ever threaten you again because they'll know exactly what I'll do to them. You're insane. Probably. His hand cupped her face with surprising gentleness. But I'm insane about you, so what does that make us? Before she could answer, he kissed her. The kiss was possession, desperation, and promise all at once. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. This is a mistake, Amara whispered. Then let's make it again. Minho kissed her once more, slower, deeper, until she forgot every reason this was wrong. The next day, Jaiwoo, one of Minho's younger lieutenants, cornered Amara in the kitchen. He was handsome in an easy way, all smiles and charm. So you're the miracle worker everyone's talking about. I'm just the maid, she replied, uncomfortable with his attention. You're more than that. Boss is walking again. Some say you're magic. His eyes traveled over her curves. I can see the appeal, all that softness must be nice to hold. That's inappropriate. Is it? Jaiwoo stepped closer. Because from where I'm standing, you're wasted on a man who can barely walk. I could show you what a whole man feels like. The temperature dropped. Minho stood in the doorway, leaning heavily on his cane but radiating menace. Jaiwoo, my office, now. The younger man paled. Boss, I was just disrespecting what belongs to me. Minho's voice could have cut glass. Move, before I forget you're useful. After Jaiwoo fled, Minho turned to Amara. Did he touch you? No. Did you want him to? God, no. Something in Minho's shoulders relaxed fractionally. Good, because I would have killed him, slowly, and enjoyed it. You can't kill people for flirting. I can do whatever I want. I'm Kang Minho. I rule this city's underworld. I've killed for less than looking at what's mine. He closed the distance between them. And you are mine, whether you admit it or not. I'm not a possession. No, you're so much more than that. His hand slid into her hair, tilting her face up. You're my salvation, my resurrection, the only thing standing between me and the monster I was becoming. Minho. Say it, say you're mine. This is crazy. Say it anyway. His lips hovered over hers. Lie if you have to, give me this. I'm yours, Amara breathed, and he kissed her with the fervor of a man who just won everything. That night, Minho had Jaiwoo transferred to the Busan operations, a demotion and a warning. The message was clear. Amara was untouchable. By the following week, Minho could walk unassisted for short periods. He celebrated by taking Amara to dinner, not at the mansion, but at Seoul's most exclusive restaurant. She protested the designer dress that appeared in her room, but wore it anyway, and Minho's expression when he saw her made her feel beautiful in a way she'd never experienced. Everyone's starring, she whispered as they were seated in a private room overlooking the city. Let them, Minho's hand covered hers on the table. Let them all see that Korea's most dangerous man has found something worth protecting. You make me sound like a trophy. You're not a trophy, you're the reason I breathe. His thumb traced circles on her palm. I was dead before you, Amara, rich, powerful, feared, and completely hollow inside. Then you stumbled into my life with your soft hands and gentle heart, and suddenly I wanted to live again. I'm nobody special. You're everything. The intensity in his gaze stole her breath, and I will spend the rest of my life proving that to you. Later, as they stood on the restaurant's balcony overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline, Minho pulled her close. I'm going to marry you, he said matter-of-factly. Amara's heart stuttered. We barely know each other. I know you save my life every day just by existing. I know you make me want to be better. I know I'd burn this entire city down before I'd let anyone hurt you. His arms tightened around her waist. That's all I need to know. Minho, this is moving too fast. I've been dead for 8 months. I don't have time to move slow. He turned her in his arms. But I'll wait. I'll court you properly, give you time to see that I'm serious. Just don't ask me to let you go. That's the one thing I can't do. The next day, Amara woke to find her medical school debt paid off. The notification had come through at 3 a.m. She stormed into Minho's office, waving her phone. You can't just. I can, and I did. He didn't look up from his paperwork. You wanted to be a nurse. Now nothing's stopping you. That's not the point. This is too much. It's not enough. It will never be enough. Minho finally met her eyes. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me use it to make you happy. Let me give you back your dreams. Amara felt tears threaten. Why? Because watching you happy feels better than anything I've ever achieved. Because you gave me my life back, and I want to give you yours. He stood, crossing to her with only a slight limp now. Because I'm falling in love with you, and I don't know how to do this small. You're falling in love with me. The words barely made it past her lips. Fell past tense. I fell the moment you touched me and brought me back from the dead. His hands framed her face. I'm completely gone for you, Amara. Obsessed. Addicted. Choose your word. They all mean the same thing. You own me. She kissed him then, rising on her toes to press her lips to his. Minho made a sound low in his throat and pulled her flesh against him, kissing her like she was oxygen and he was drowning. When they finally broke apart, both were shaking. Come upstairs with me, Minho rasped. Please, I just need you close. Amara nodded, beyond words, and let him lead her to his private quarters. The kiss in the elevator was desperate, hands tangling, breath coming fast. By the time they reached his room, they were both trembling with want. What happened next was tender and consuming, Minho worshipping every inch of her soft body like she was sacred, murmuring Korean words she didn't understand but felt in her soul. When sensation overwhelmed them both, Amara understood what it meant to be utterly claimed. Afterward, lying in his arms while soul glittered outside floor-to-ceiling windows, she felt complete for the first time in years. But when she woke before dawn, panic set in. This was real. This was dangerous. This was a mafia boss who would consume her entire world. Amara slipped from the bed, dressed quietly, and left before Minho could wake. She made it to her apartment and immediately started packing. It was stupid, impossible, but she had to run before she fell so deep she'd never escape. Her door crashed open. Minho stood there, partially dressed, leaning on his cane, eyes wild. Where are you going? I can't do this. Like hell. He crossed the small space in seconds, backing her against the wall. You don't get to run, not from this, not from me. You'll get bored. You'll realize I'm just what? Just the woman I love, just my miracle, just the only person who makes me want to be something other than a monster. His hands trapped her, his body pressed close. You're mine, Amara. I told you that. I meant it. This is insane. So be insane with me. Minho's forehead pressed against hers. I've spent 10 years building an empire of blood and fear. You're the first clean thing I've ever had. Don't take that away from me. Don't take yourself away from me. I'm scared, she admitted. Good, be scared, but be scared with me, not without me. He kissed her softly. I will protect you. I will cherish you. I will give you everything. Just stay. Amara felt her resistance crumble. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I'll stay. Minho's smile was brilliant and relieved. Thank God, because I was prepared to lock you in my house until you came to your senses. That's kidnapping. I'm a criminal, remember? I'd call it protective custody. His grin was wicked, but his eyes were serious. Come home with me. Let me show you how serious I am about this, about us. Amara moved into the mansion that afternoon. Minho had her apartment cleared, her belongings transported, and by sunset she stood in a bedroom 3 times the size of her entire previous living space. This is too much, she said for the 100th time. Get used to it. Minho leaned against the doorframe, watching her with possessive satisfaction. Everything I have is yours now. The house, the cars, the accounts, all of it. I don't want your money. I know, that's why I'm giving it to you. He crossed to her, pulling her into his arms. You're the first person who ever wanted me, not what I could provide, so I'm going to drown you in everything anyway. That evening, Sung-ho briefed Minho on security protocols. The park syndicate is getting aggressive. They know about Miss Cole now. They'll try to use her. Then we move first. Minho's voice was ice. I want every park operation in Seoul shut down within the week, quietly, efficiently, and I want Park Sang-woo to know exactly why it's happening. Boss, that's war, yes. He should have thought about that before his men followed my woman. Min-ho's smile was vicious. Let him come, I'm walking again, I'm stronger, and I have everything to fight for now. The next morning, Amara woke to find Min-ho attempting push-ups beside the bed. His recovery was accelerating, muscles rebuilding with supernatural speed. You're starring, he said without looking up. You're showing off. Maybe, he finished his set and stood, barely winded. Or maybe I'm preparing. For what? To be the man you deserve, strong enough to protect you, fast enough to keep you safe, deadly enough to destroy anyone who threatens you. He pulled her from the bed into his arms. I'm going to be invincible for you. A few days later, Min-ho took Amara to his private shooting range. I want you to learn, he said, setting a pistol on the counter. I don't want to shoot anyone. I don't want you to have to, but if something happens, if I'm not there, I need to know you can protect yourself. His hands guided hers, positioning the weapon. Please, for me, learn this. She did. Over the following weeks, Amara became proficient with handguns, learned basic self-defense, and understood the security protocols that governed her new life. Min-ho was always there, patient and encouraging, his pride obvious every time she hit the target. You're a natural, he said after she landed 3 perfect shots. I'm terrified. Good, fear keeps you alert. He turned her to face him. But you're never alone in this. I will always find you. I will always protect you. That's a promise. By the end of the month, Min-ho was walking without any assistance. His physical therapist called it miraculous. His doctors had no explanation. Min-ho knew the truth. Every time Amara touched him, he healed faster, grew stronger, became more himself. You're magic, he told her one night, his head in her lap while she ran fingers through his hair. I'm ordinary. You brought a dead man back to life. That's the opposite of ordinary. He caught her hand, pressing kisses to her palm. You're my miracle, Amara, my resurrection. I will worship you for the rest of my life. But danger was circling closer. The following week, a package arrived at the mansion. Inside was a photo of Amara at the market, a red circle drawn around her head. The message was clear. Min-ho's reaction was volcanic. Find them, he told Sung-ho, his voice deadly calm. Find every Park associate in Seoul. I want locations, families, weaknesses, everything. Boss, if we escalate. They escalated when they threatened her. Min-ho's control shattered. They want war. I'll give them annihilation. Nobody threatens what's mine and lives to brag about it. That night, Amara found him in his office, staring at surveillance photos. Min-ho, you're scaring me. Good, you should be scared. They're hunting you. He pulled her onto his lap, burying his face in her neck. I can't lose you. I won't survive it. You're not going to lose me. You don't know that. You don't know what these men are capable of. His arms tightened. I've done terrible things, Amara, killed people, destroyed lives. I've been the monster in the dark. But if they take you from me, they'll see what a real monster looks like. Then let's leave. Go somewhere they can't find us. I don't run. Min-ho's voice was steel. I end threats permanently. The next day, 3 Park Syndicate warehouses burned to the ground. No casualties, but millions in losses. The message was unmistakable. Kang Min-ho was back, and he was ruthless. Park Sang-woo responded by sending assassins to the mansion. They didn't make it past the gate. Min-ho had them delivered back in pieces with a note. She is untouchable. Test me again, and I'll erase your bloodline. This has to stop, Amara pleaded. People are dying. Bad people, people who would hurt you without hesitation. Min-ho cupped her face. I won't apologize for protecting you. I won't feel guilty for keeping you safe. This is who I am. I know who you are. I fell in love with who you are. The admission slipped out before she could stop it. Min-ho went completely still. Say that again. I love you, Amara whispered. I know I shouldn't, I know it's crazy, but I do. I love you, Min-ho. He kissed her with bruising intensity, lifting her into his arms and carrying her upstairs. What followed was passionate and desperate, both of them clinging to each other like the world was ending. Afterward, Min-ho held her close and made a vow. I will marry you. I will give you children. I will build you a life where you never have to be afraid, and I will destroy anyone who tries to take that from us." The following week, Park Sang-woo made his final mistake. His men ambushed Amara's car on the way back from the market. Sung-ho and 2 guards died protecting her before reinforcements arrived. Amara escaped with minor injuries, but the trauma was devastating. When Min-ho arrived at the safe house where they'd taken her, his expression promised death. "Who did this?" "Park's men, Sung-ho," Amara's voice broke. "He saved me, he's dead because of me." "No," Min-ho pulled her into his arms. "He's dead because Park Sang-woo is a dead man walking who doesn't know it yet, but he will, soon." That night, Min-ho assembled his entire organization. "Sung-ho was family. He died protecting what I love most. That debt will be paid in blood. We go to war, total war. The Park Syndicate ends tonight." What followed was brutal and efficient. Min-ho personally led the assault on Park's compound, moving with the deadly grace of a man who'd spent 8 months planning revenge. By dawn, Park Sang-woo was dead, his organization dismantled, and every man who'd threatened Amara was buried. Min-ho returned to the mansion covered in blood that wasn't his. Amara met him at the door, tears streaming down her face. "Is it over?" "It's over." He pulled her close despite the gore. "You're safe. I promised you'd be safe." "You could have died." "Not possible. I have too much to live for." He kissed her forehead. "You're my life now, Amara. As long as you exist, I'm immortal." The following month was healing. Min-ho officially introduced Amara to his organization as his future wife. Some grumbled about her being an outsider, but one look at Min-ho's face silenced all dissent. She wasn't just the boss's woman. She was the queen, and anyone who disrespected her answered to him. "Try this," Min-ho said one evening, sliding a velvet box across the dinner table. Inside was a ring, a flawless black diamond surrounded by smaller white stones. "Min-ho, marry me." He dropped to one knee despite having walked into gunfire just weeks ago. "Marry me, Amara. Be my wife. Let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you." "You're already worthy." "Then say yes. Make me the happiest man alive." "Yes," she breathed. "Yes, I'll marry you." The wedding happened 3 months later. It was a spectacle. Half of Seoul's underworld in attendance, the other half of legitimate business, all watching as Korea's most dangerous man pledged his life to a curvy American maid who'd saved him with a touch. "I love you," Min-ho said during their private moment before the ceremony. "I loved you the moment you brought me back to life. I'll love you until my last breath and beyond." "I love you too," Amara replied, fixing his tie. "My monster, my miracle, my everything." The reception was lavish, but Min-ho only had eyes for his bride. He danced with her, held her, whispered promises in Korean that made her blush. When they finally escaped to their suite, he worshipped her like she was divine. "Mrs. Kang," he murmured against her skin. "My wife, mine forever." "Forever," she agreed, and they sealed the promise with their bodies. 6 months later, Amara stood in their bedroom, staring at the positive pregnancy test. Min-ho found her there, frozen in shock. "What's wrong?" His concern was immediate. She held up the test silently. Min-ho's eyes went wide, then fierce with joy. "You're pregnant." "We're pregnant," she corrected. He fell to his knees, pressing his face against her stomach. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for giving me everything, for saving me, for loving me for this." "Min-ho, I'm going to be a father." He looked up at her with tears in his eyes. "You've given me life twice now, first when you made me walk again and now this. How do I ever repay you?" "You already have, every day, by loving me, by protecting me, by being mine." Amara ran her fingers through his hair. "We're family now, really, truly family." The pregnancy was carefully monitored, heavily protected. Min-ho became even more possessive, if that was possible. He insisted on accompanying her to every appointment, had the nursery designed by the best architects, and threatened any doctor who showed the slightest concern. "You're impossible," Amara laughed during one appointment. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "What if something happens to you, to the baby?" "Nothing will happen, you won't let it." She squeezed his hand. You brought me back from nothing. You protected me from assassins. You've given me a life I never dreamed possible. Trust that everything will be okay." 7 months later, Amara went into labor during a thunderstorm. Minho practically carried her to the car, barking orders at everyone. At the hospital, he refused to leave her side, holding her hand through every contraction. "You're doing amazing," he murmured. "So strong, so perfect." "I'm going to kill you for doing this to me," she panted. "Fair, but love me a little longer first." When their daughter was born, healthy, screaming, perfect, Minho cried. Actual tears streaming down the face of Korea's most feared crime boss as he held his child. "She's beautiful," he whispered, "just like her mother." "She has your eyes," Amara said softly. Poor thing, but his smile was radiant. "We'll name her Minseo. It means calm and auspicious. After 8 months of darkness, you brought me light. She's proof of that miracle." Later, as Amara slept and Minho held their daughter, he made a silent vow. This child would never know the darkness he'd lived in. She would be protected, cherished, given every advantage. And anyone who threatened her or her mother would learn that Kang Minho's love was matched only by his capacity for destruction. "Your mother saved me," he whispered to Minseo. "She touched a broken man and brought him back to life. Now we have you, our perfect, beautiful miracle. I will protect you both until my last breath. That's a promise." 6 months after Minseo's birth, the family gathered for a celebration. Minho had officially retired from active operations, transitioning the organization to legitimate businesses while maintaining his reputation as someone not to cross. He spent his days with his wife and daughter, finding more joy in their smiles than he'd ever found in power. "Are you happy?" Amara asked one evening, watching him play with Minseo. "Happy doesn't cover it." Minho pulled her down beside him. "I was dead, Amara, truly dead inside. Then you touched me and I came back to life. You gave me my body back, then my heart, then my future. You gave me everything. You gave me everything too. A home, a family, a love I never thought I'd find." She kissed him softly. "My dangerous, impossible, wonderful husband." "Your monster," he corrected with a grin. "My miracle," she countered. Minseo babbled between them, and they both laughed. Outside, Seoul glittered in the darkness. Inside, a former Mafia boss who'd been paralyzed and broken held his wife and daughter close, understanding that sometimes miracles came in the form of gentle hands and a fearless heart. "I love you," Minho said, as he did every day. "I love you too," Amara replied, as she always would. And in the safety of their home, surrounded by love and light, they built a future neither had dreamed possible, proof that even in the darkest places, hope could take root and flourish. 2 years later, Minho stood in their garden, now completely healed, no trace of his injury remaining. He chased Minseo through the flowers while Amara watched, her hand resting on her rounded belly, their second child growing strong. "Catch me, Appa," Minseo shrieked with delight. Minho scooped her up, spinning her around. "Always, my love, I'll always catch you." He met Amara's eyes over their daughter's head, and the look that passed between them held everything: gratitude, devotion, unshakable love. She'd touched a paralyzed man and brought him back to life. He'd taken a broken woman and given her a kingdom. Together, they'd built something impossible. Together, they'd found their miracle. And in the end, that was all that mattered. The end. Thank you for listening. Welcome to Afro-Coring Tales TV, besties. If you enjoyed this dark romance, please like, share, and subscribe for more addictive love stories. What should we write next? Drop your ideas in the comments below. 2 hearts.